Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm Bobby Fouts. We begin with new information in a sting operation where a Minnesota senator and more than a dozen others were arrested for allegedly trying to solicit minors for sex. Now, federal prosecutors, they are asking the court to keep a former state senator, Justin Eichorn, in jail until his trial and after he allegedly lied to investigators and tried to conceal evidence. Prosecutors allege he responded to an online ad that was part of a sting, arranging to meet and have sex with someone he thought was a 17-year-old girl.
I'm going to say one thing that Justin said that you might not know. The decoy had told him that they lived with their aunt and that their aunt was gone till next week. And then Justin had asked if he could have sex in his car. Well, because he asked that, and he came here trying to have sex with a child.
Court records say the new information stems from a search of Eichorn's St. Paul apartment, which he lives in during the legislative session. Investigators found a handgun and ammo, but they say in a post-arrest interview, Eichorn said there was no gun there. While authorities searched the apartment, a person showed up and asked to retrieve a computer from inside. She was denied and left and declined to be interviewed by the FBI. Now, a judge has not yet ruled on the motion. Eichorn remains in custody, though Governor Tim Walz has not called for a special election for Eichorn's seat. Multiple candidates have already announced their intentions to run.